Hello and welcome to another episode of Flood City with CzarPeppers. Well, this has been a long and arduous series, and today it comes to an end. I was looking at the city. Earlier I logged on and the city was completely screwed up. Like 40% of the roads were gone. But I logged out, came back on now, and it seems like everything's fixed again. But I've sort of come to a point where I'm not really sure what to do. I've pretty much solved the flooding issues, so there really isn't any drama in that respect. And after when I logged on this morning and the city was all screwed up, I was trying to come up with ideas for something more interesting, and I have a few ideas I want to try out, so this is going to be the last episode of Flood City. This Flood City anyways. So I thought we'd go out with a bang. But first of all, there's a few new things that I want to show you guys. First off, if we go down here, it seems like, I think this is a City Skyline official update. It might be an updated mod, but I'm pretty sure it's City Skylines itself. But they've made in-game, without modification, terrain management tools, and they actually listened to me. No, probably not, but they have flood walls, dikes now, and channels and stuff. That's really cool. I like that. Actually, might try this one out right here. See, there we go. It's a channel. It's a nice... Yeah, that didn't work quite as I thought it was gonna. Oh, there it is. There we go. See, it's a little channel. Isn't that neat? I like that. Okay, so what we're basically going to do is we're going to get rid of the dams. Let's say a big hurricane or something hit the city and the dams broke. What's going on down here? I don't know why that suddenly lost power. But what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to add some of these flood walls up on top of the existing dikes. Like so. I guess I can't do it there because it's flooded. Or there. There we go, do it there. We'll just go up along here. I really like this. I'm very fond of this flood wall thing they've added in. It's basically exactly what I asked for in the first episode of this series. Alright, here we go. Say goodbye, dams. And let the water come forth in a giant, plunging, strange thing that probably defies the laws of physics. It's like gravity has reversed itself. Okay, it looks like initially we're going to have everything's going to get super shallow, and that's usually what precedes a gigantic wave. Now, I have no idea whether this additional flood wall protection is going to hold this area. What the hell happened here? Oh, right, the dams. I guess they provided quite a bit of power. You know what? I'm just going to pause that for a second and do this. Which might not be the greatest idea. I'm probably going to have another Fukushima on our hands. Eesh. I wonder if you can get nuclear meltdowns in City Skylines. Alright. Floodwaters are slowly coming forward. It's going to get really shallow, and then it's going to get really floody. Now this is actually sort of how floods work in real life. They usually... I know in 97 it literally came in sort of a gigantic wave that just swept across the plains. It's overflowing the primary dike up here. Now in order to get this road over here, I had to do this interesting corner thing, but we should be focusing on this. Okay, we have the first primary dike defeated. Now, in this scenario, it's designed so the water flow will hopefully go into this big bowl right here, and there's a dike all the way around it, which will hopefully protect the main inhabited areas. Now I'm not sure whether it might actually hold with this flood wall on top. I'm thinking maybe I should put another flood wall down here. I'm just going to pause it for a sec so I don't miss anything. Alright, so we've put down this wall around the flood bowl. Hopefully that'll help contain it. It seems like it's going to overflow here. Slightly. Oh, but yeah, that's quite high. Here it comes. Yep, it's completely overflowing the primary dike. That is the first line of defense gone. And it's going to quickly go over the second line of defense, starting to flood out the main highway into the city. Now, all is not lost quite yet, because the last line of defense is right down here, where it's designed to flow into this channel and hopefully go away from the city. However, it is more vulnerable over here, where the dike isn't quite as high. So if it floods down this way, we're in big trouble. Another mod that I installed recently, which is being demonstrated down here that I didn't notice, is a mod that makes fires spread if they're not taken under control quickly. And that's happened down here in this agricultural area. However, I have a feeling that these fires are going to be out quite soon. Smells like bacon dinner though. Well, this is interesting. We have this in real life, this is sort of what happens when you have a tsunami, is the water will reside out. Like if you're at a beach, the water will go out like a super low tide right before the big wave comes in. And that's sort of what's happening right here. Now, it's starting to overflow into the main channel to divert it. Okay, if this wave doesn't dissipate by the time it gets to this third dike, then the city is in quite a bit of trouble. You know, a little bit of water has gotten into this city and has flooded out some of the houses slightly, but this dike is actually protecting the most important part of the city, or the dike system. We have a little bit flowing over, but it's actually not too bad. And this channel is working as I wanted it to. It's not flooding beyond here. I guess I should give these guys oh, screw it. It's not like it matters at this point. Okay, we do have water coming over the last line of defense down here, flooding into the main part of the city. This could be the end game. It is a lot better than I thought it was going to be, though. These defenses were not built to withstand this kind of flood, this kind of surge. But overall, it is doing a lot better than I expected. The flooding down here is getting pretty bad, but I thought that this would be under like 10 meters of water pretty quickly. And this area would be underwater too pretty quickly. But things aren't great, but they're not completely horrendously disastrous. Alright, the main surge is starting to come up to the main highway bridge going into the old part of town. This is the first part of town that I built, which suffered a pretty big surge in the second episode, I believe. Let's see how it does this time. This here is probably going to be the weak spot because I couldn't build this dike under the bridge, otherwise I would have to demolish the bridge and rebuild it and everything. So we have to hope that the primary and secondary dikes here are going to be enough to keep it from going into Sunset Park. Well, it's bypassed this dike here by going around here, and it is starting to flood into the main city. However, if you look at the land, it's lower down here and then goes gradually upwards. So that slight increase in height may protect the lower areas of the city, or this part of the city, one can hope. Now the main surge seems to have gone down significantly as it passes through this corner, and it's now starting to work its way towards the new part of town. Now the new part of town does not really have a diking system because it is higher than the rest, but this surge may be too much for it. It is already flooding down here in the uninhabited areas. Looks like we have some more problems on our hands. There is a fire spreading in the Dale Park area, the main commercial area in the city, and traffic is completely jammed up with buses. You know what, with this emergency situation going on, we're just gonna cut all transportation in the city. That way, emergency crews can have a better chance of working their way around. Sort of like during the flood of '97, although Winnipeg was unscathed by the flood for the most part, the American city to the South Grand Forks was heavily flooded, pretty much completely flooded out. And during the flood, a huge fire, I know it's sort of weird, flood and fire, but gas lines and stuff broke, and there was a huge fire that ravaged a big portion of their downtown during the flood. So basically you had a downtown that was flooded and on fire. Well, I can't really say things have been particularly eventful. The surge seems to have dissipated quite a lot, but it is still flowing through this area. This bridge is just starting to get flooded out, but this one's still open. This sort of southern area of the new town commercial district is getting a bit flooded, but not too badly. And this area has some flooding with some yummy sewage as well. But again, not too bad. Now we have the surge coming around the second loop in this neighborhood. Now most of the water seems to be, its momentum will be going straight down this way. So this industrial area will probably get hit pretty hard. And it was at this point when a notorious terrorist group set dynamite charges on the side of the canyon here, and then they exploded. All of the water into the valley. Okay, this area is a bit more worse off than I thought it was going to be. Floodwaters have reached our area with all the clubs and bars and whatnot. Leisure kind of things that I don't know about because I'm a socially retarded or something. Will the plane make it out in time? All those passengers, they've done it. They've escaped before the doom of the water comes and floods out the airport. Here it comes. Just sit back and witness the horror. And there goes the airport. I'm surprised that it's gone as far up as this area. It might even make it all the way to the top. Completely flooding out this entire area. But will it reach down here? Yes. Yes, it will reach down here. And there's no signs that it's going to stop anytime soon. Airport's pretty much completely underwater. Look at all these highways with the small exits above the raging waves as it flows into the flood bowl, which will just be a gigantic lake soon like it was back in episode 1 and 2. power is starting to really begin to fluctuate. It's only a matter of time before power for pretty much the entire city will go out. It's nighttime, and everything is dark. Off and on, off and on. Well, here we are at the end of a long journey. Flood City has gone through a lot, it's survived a lot, but I don't think it's going to survive this. Pretty much the power to the entire city has been cut off now, as the two nuclear plants, the main sources of power, have been flooded out and are now offline. This area is exactly what the neighborhood is called. It is a flood bowl now. Houses are barely even seeing the light above the water, with high rises almost completely covered with the flooding waves. And rather ironically, this whole dike is pretty much holding all the water for the city to keep it flooded. So this is the end of Flood City. Don't worry, I have other ideas, and we're going to get another Flood City 2.0. I have some ideas. So until then, it's been quite a trek, and I think there's no better place to end that at the memorial that marked the survival of the first flood this city saw. So, until the next flood, good night.